Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, July 22nd. Welcome to a meeting of the Transportation and Environment Committee. We have one item on this afternoon's agenda, and that is WMATA. We have Charlie Scott, the Senior Government Relations Officer, with us to talk about WMATA's FY25 budget, the status of the red line, and the work to mitigate those who are reliant on transportation and the red line over the summer, and then also share with us information about the Better Bus redesign. And for those who are unaware, WMATA proposed a Better Bus network intended to improve frequency, reliability, and increase ridership without any budgetary changes, as I understand it. And my understanding, and speaking with the general manager over the weekend, was, and I don't mean to steal Mr. Scott's thunder, but through that redesign, without any financial changes, the proposals would increase ridership by about 13,000 riders, somewhere around there, which is fantastic. And we know that this is critically important, not only to get workers and residents around our community, but as we continue working towards our climate goals, we know that we need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions coming from our transportation sector, which makes up 42% of our carbon emissions here in Montgomery County. And we just spent the morning for about 3 hours speaking about regulations and policies to improve connectivity for our workforce. That as we continue expanding economic opportunity in Montgomery County, we want people to be thoughtful in how they get to and from work, and having a strong, reliable, robust public transportation network might be the best regulation.
Yes, I think so.
But
Yeah.
that's a different conversation, but intrinsically tied. So with that, I don't know if colleagues have any opening comments they want to make. Mr. Kenny, you want to tee us off?
Sure. I'll just add one note that the discussion around the Better Bus redesign today will be largely about process and some high-level items. When we will have Ride-On come in September to talk about Ride-On Reimagined, we will walk through in more detail some of the some of the more finer grained details about the bus route changes and how Ride-On plans to fill gaps or enhance in other places, dovetailing with the Better Bus redesign. So we'll have further opportunities to have that conversation as well.
Great. Thank you. With that, Mr. Scott, welcome.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Glass. Councilmembers Balcom, Stewart, thank you for this opportunity. For the record again, Charlie Scott with the Government Relations Office at Metro. And I am actually joined today by a colleague, Aaron Kors. Aaron's he's a community engagement and outreach officer with our Metro Transit Police. So that is a division of our transit police of non-sworn personnel who help create the liaison between our transit police and the communities that we serve. So Aaron just wanted to shadow some of us in the Government Relations Office, so he decided to come learn more about how our interaction with elected officials and how what we do works. I told him that you are very nice people, that you won't ask any hard questions, so please keep me honest with that. So as Councilmember Glass mentioned, part of this presentation is just a quick overview of our fiscal 25 budget. This was definitely a very challenging budget to craft for Metro and for the region. This is basically our first budget without a major source of federal COVID relief funding. In this budget, we are using the last $95 million in federal COVID relief dollars that we have, but the remaining part of our $750 million gap had to be filled through a number of ways. Definitely a shared sacrifice by employees at Metro, by riders who are now paying more at the fare gates, and by the region, who had to dig in deep and deliver more subsidy for us. This chart kind of goes over, where we are. Combined, almost a $5 billion budget between our, almost split evenly between operating and capital. Again, on the operating side, Metrobus is a good chunk of that, about $840 million, $1.3 billion for Metro Rail and Metro Access, $175 million or so for the current fiscal year. And then the chart also shows the major investments that make up the capital budget. In terms of the sources and uses, as I mentioned, on the operating side, the federal relief, that last $95 million, is the last bit of our federal COVID relief funds. We anticipate passenger revenue with the fare increase being just shy of $400 million. Some non-passenger revenues, those are other items such as real estate, other leases revenue coming in at about advertising at about $100 million. And then the major source of funding, of course, is the subsidy from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, accounting for about $1.75 billion of our operating budget. Again, then, and you can see the uses as well. Again, how we helped solve this, again, major influx of additional funding beyond the 3% increase that we've been relying on from the region. So another $463 million from the region to help address the $750 million budget gap that we had. Other administrative efficiencies, just trying to figure out how to run the business more efficiently, and then also for people like me and for people like our frontline employees this year, no salary increases as our contribution to help solve the budget gap that we're facing. Again, in terms of the this kind of gives you some sense of, we tried to really not harm the service. So we did some very, very strategic cuts on the Metro Rail side. So for instance, where we had capacity in excess of what we needed, we can run some 6-car trains instead of 8-car trains. It doesn't save a lot. It's mostly just the propulsion and some of the maintenance on the rail cars. Obviously, you're still using a train operator, regardless of the length of the rail cars. And then we had budgeted for some increased service this year on the Orange Line. We never implemented that last bit of increased service, so then we decided as a budget savings to continue that current level on the Orange Line for the coming fiscal year. So that's kind of the highlights. And then I'll get more specific on it, but the fare increase went into effect at the beginning of our fiscal year. So now basically it's a 12.5% across the board fare increase for Metro Bus, Metro Rail, and for Metro Access. The only small caveat to that is that we've implemented a $2 late night fare and a $2 weekend fare on the rail side. So that went up at least 12.5%, so at least to $2.25. But now we've also implemented it's up to $2.50. So it's basically anywhere between $2.25 and $2.50 following the distance-based system that we have for the regular part of the day on Metro Rail. So for those people, it's theoretically a 25% increase, but again, it's no more than a 50-cent increase over what we had been charging before late night and weekend. And of course, we did everything we could to advertise this, make sure people were well aware of the impact and anticipating it before it actually hit on July 1st. So I think we did a pretty good job. Often you do these things and you start hearing about it after the fact that people didn't know to expect it. But I didn't hear many of those types of complaints this time. Definitely some beforehand as we were about to implement it. And then one more thing I definitely want to highlight is that 13 months ago now, we implemented Metro Lift. So this is now across the region, any member of our community who receives SNAP benefits is eligible to sign up for Metro Lift. We've made it very easy for people to sign up. They don't need a new card or anything. You just go online, you load your SNAP benefits letter, and you load your existing SmartTrip card number, and then we process it, and then by the next time you tap, after it's been processed, it's automatically charging you half of the prevailing fare on either bus or rail. So definitely want to see this continue to grow in numbers across the region. We had a goal for the first year of 8,000 participants. As of last week, we were at 7,484. So good, but not quite what we set as the goal for the year. So definitely appreciate any partnerships. I know at the Silver Spring Transit Center, you can sign up for it at the commuter store operated by the county. So definitely one of my goals for the coming year is to work with Montgomery, Prince George's counties, and all the counties around the region to help find ways that we can spread the word and get more participants signed up for this benefit.
Well, I'll jump in and say, I
please.
think in the next newsletter that each of us send from our office, you might see something about MetroLift.
Thank you in advance. Just some recent highlights. So we do continue to see increased ridership across the system, both bus and rail. So May and June, 11% higher than the previous year, 14% increase on weekdays. So we definitely are seeing more people return to some of those regular commute patterns. Still not in the numbers that we want, but we're still trending in the right direction. So for 39 consecutive months now, we have seen ridership increases comparing, that month to the month a year prior. So that's good. And same thing on bus. Bus ridership continues to grow. We've had some recent record days, so 418,000 trips on June 8th. So that was the Pride Parade in DC, and I think some other activities as well. And then our 4th of July this year was the highest rail ridership since 2015. So all good signs on the ridership side. And definitely one of the things we've heard from our riders is the concern about fare evasion in the system. It really was quite prevalent, I think, as we emerged from COVID. Behaviors had changed. So we definitely had a concerted effort to change the fare gates, make it more challenging, more difficult to evade, especially in the rail system. So we're seeing a 71% reduction in fare evasion, 81% reduction at the stations where we've implemented the higher fare gates. And we're still on target to have all stations retrofitted this calendar year. So as mentioned, we're still in the middle of our summer red line shutdown, but making progress. And I think one good thing kind of shows that we can be nimble even as a bureaucratic agency. So one thing that happened as we implemented the shutdown was that Silver Spring, not just with our shuttles, but also with other work being done in the area, just became very, very congested with the number of shuttle buses that we were trying to run in and out of the Silver Spring Transit Center and that general area. So then one thing we were able to do was to actually adjust some of the shuttle operations so that we had some shuttles going directly from Forest Glen straight to Fort Totten and avoiding Silver Spring. So I thought that was a good thing, that we could recognize a problem even after we'd implemented what we thought was a pretty good plan, and be nimble enough to change it and be flexible to continue finding the best way for our riders to navigate during this rather difficult time navigating downtown. Here's just a quick picture. I got this from on the left-hand side. That's from friends at the Purple Line. So some people have asked, why can't you just use one side of the platform there or something like that? So I think, picture's worth 1,000 words. So this kind of shows just how complex everything that they're doing there on the platform really is. And good news, everything I've heard, knock on wood, is that they're still on schedule, on track to complete their work by the end of August. So we will continue with our target of reopening of the red line. We try really hard to make sure that we are communicating this in advance of the event so that people know, can start planning how they will navigate during these shutdown. So we definitely were out there in advance trying to communicate with our riders, our customers. So including non-English. So 23% of the interactions that we had were with non-English speakers. And then we also do some surveys to find out how aware members of the community are. And it's kind of a metric to see if our ways of communicating are actually working. So in April, we had about 73% of our customer base was aware. And then by May 31st, just as we were implementing it, 91% of our customer base was aware of the impending shutdown. So pretty good metrics there. So as of what I created these slides, we had just under 500,000 trips taken on our shuttles. I just looked it up this morning, so through July 17th, so later last week, we had 529,000 trips on our shuttle buses so far this year. As Councilmember Glass mentioned, we have embarked on this Better Bus Network. Many other transit properties around the country have done similar efforts. I'm not saying we're late to the game, but it's a complicated region, as we know. So, and definitely this is an initiative that Randy Clark, we had embarked on it before Randy joined us, but he was like, go, 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 make sure this gets done. So we've tried to accelerate the timeline to the best we can while also being cognizant that we really need to hear from our customers and see what works and what doesn't work. So it kind of reflects the fact that our region is growing, ridership patterns have changed. A lot of our Metro bus network was based on the 4 bus companies that we bought in 1973. A lot of the routes hadn't changed since then. And even then, a lot of the bus routes operated by those 4 companies date back to the streetcar lines. So a lot has changed in the last 50, 70, 80 years. So definitely time to rethink where do the buses run, how has development changed the needs of our communities. So kind of, this is kind of as Stephen mentioned, the process. So it did start a couple years ago, sort of gathering information. We came out with a draft network in early 23, and then we took the feedback, we tweaked it again, and then we came out with a revised network design. We just closed the public comment period about a week ago, and in the most recent comment period, 9-week comment period, we received over 10,000 comments. So now our staff is vigorously trying to work to dissect all the feedback that we've received, and the plan is to start giving this, revising the network again based on the latest round of feedback, and then publishing a draft final network that we would present to our board of directors for adoption. This is by far the most complex bus change that we've presented to our board of directors in my 17 plus years at Metro. So it won't be quick, but we are targeting basically next fiscal year. So we're looking at a late June, July 2025 implementation, because we're talking all new route numbers, all new signage, all new everything across the region. So even after the board adopts it and approves it, it's going to take months of time to implement whatever the board does adopt.
In next year's budget, that's what you're saying?
Yes, so that too. So the, and again, you know, our subsidies are based on, the subsidies from the region are based on a formula, based on where the routes are, and, you know, all those things. So in terms of how it's paid for as well, it'll be all part of the next budget. As Councilmember Glass mentioned, we envision 13,000 new trips. So it's not easy. I mean, to use the same number of dollars to get an increase of this, I mean, it's about 3.5% increase with the same amount of resources. So that's not easy, but we think it's a good for the whole region to kind of rethink, you know, making sure that the buses are going where people need the buses. So there will be some trade-offs, of course. I mean, none of this is easy. So some areas where ridership isn't as high on the current Metro bus route, you know, we'll see reductions. Some areas where the buses go in somewhat convoluted routings, you know, they'll become more direct, but that also means that some people will need to walk further to get to a bus stop, those types of trade-offs. But again, we do believe that making the network more efficient is the right path to go on. Will increase ridership, will make it a better experience for our customers, so get the most bang for the buck. And I think that's kind of what people want. So again, this kind of goes over again, kind of what, you know, what we see as the who's benefiting, who's disbenefiting from the proposed changes. So overall, we think it's a win for the region to implement this. And again, as Stephen mentioned, we've been working very closely with the Ride On Reimagined effort as well, trying to go hand in hand with what they're doing, recognizing that, you know, there have been some routes, you know, for instance, you know, the Flash BRT on Route 29, you know, we have some service there, seeing like, okay, well, maybe that, you know, to get people to ride the new Flash service, maybe, you know, the Metro bus service needs to be, you know, shifted, you know, in some ways to better use our collective resources. So not just really Metro resources, but also looking at what our partners are doing, making sure that the entire transit network makes the most sense. And actually, that's probably a pretty good segue into the DMV Moves effort. Because again, this is not just a metro effort, this is a regional effort to look at transit across the region. How can we, as a region, have a world-class system, and a system that is easy, intuitive to use, has similar fare policies across the region, is funded for future improvements, and is really serving the entire region in the best ways possible. So again, this effort started, it's a kind of a effort between, managed by Metro and managed by the Council of Governments. We have a task force of about 23 regional leaders. This slide is actually slightly out of date. And then we also have advisory groups who are meeting to digest information, develop data for us as well for the region on the transit needs of not just Metro, but also all the local transit systems, as well as MARC and VRE, to collectively see what does the region need between now and 2050 overall, on an annual basis to deliver transit. So it's a big data request as well across the region to think about this, figure out what is really needed, and then, come up with recommendations, hopefully by this fall, that will then start being implemented as soon as we can in Richmond and Annapolis, in the district and elsewhere, to have a system that meets the demands today and really the demands of the next 20, 30 years across the DMV. So I think I will end there, but again, happy to answer any questions.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that thorough presentation. Lots of really good information in there. I was taking notes, notably 39 consecutive months of growth, right? That is great, and that shows trust and reliability of service, and people are going back. Fare evasion down 71%, a lot of intentionality there as well. And then I wrote Metro Lift, I underlined it, I starred it, so we'll make sure to get that in my newsletter. And again, I know I expect to see it in my colleagues as well. I want to go back to the budget, and one of the things that you didn't talk about but was central to this year's budget was the additional investment that the three jurisdictions needed, approximately $450 million. Where does this put us moving forward, right? As we just approved our FY25 budget, and we're already doing oversight work with regard to next year's budget, and that was the discussion we had this morning about parking rates and fees in our business improvement districts and downtown cores. What do you expect the conversation to be for 9 months from now as we talk about the WMATA budget?
So in Virginia, for instance, they operate on a 2-year budget cycle. So in Virginia, they passed funding both for FY25 and for FY26. There, as I mentioned, the $95 million is kind of that one-time source that we can't rely on going forward. So Virginia did pass money in their budget, in the Commonwealth budget, that would account for their share of that $95 million in their FY26 subsidy number. So that much above their FY25 number. One of the things that we did, which is not a great practice, but it was a needed practice this year, and it will be, I think, again in FY26, is using preventive maintenance funds to close the gap in the operating budget. So this is a completely legit FTA eligible use of funds that are provided to Metro, but it's funds that we have normally allocated to the capital budget. So investments that we make, changing the oil on a bus. Normally we've funded that out of the capital budget, but we're allowed to, normally out of the operating budget, but we're allowed to use capital dollars to pay for those types of investments. So that has plugged a hole, and I think we'll have to plug that hole again. But at some level, that just accelerates the time frame at which your capital budget is also going to run out of money. So the region came together in 2018 to deliver the $500 million in dedicated funding for the capital budget. But again, when you do these accounting mechanisms to shift funds from one budget to the other, it means that the date that we will need an additional capital investment also gets accelerated whenever you do those mechanisms. So I think it'll be challenging in FY26, but I think really the larger challenge is going to be beyond as we look at, making sure that the level of increased investment, that $460 million, needs to be sustained, and also we need to find a way to address some of these short-term gimmicks that we've done that are, again, it's completely legit. It's just not something that is sustainable for a long term.
And that is the driving force between the DMV moves, and appreciate Vice President Stewart for her leadership at COG and helping convene that group, and I'm sure she'll address that in a bit. One of the other questions, and I have a few, but I'll turn it over to colleagues after this. With regard to the reimagine, what we call it, Ride on Reimagine. What is WMATA call it?
Better bus.
Better bus. Thank you. As you've been going through that, what have the priorities been? Right, there are lots of different priorities, but I'm curious, as the decision points have been brought to bear, what were the trade-offs and some of the inflection points as to how to move forward? Because a lot of people are watching it,
right.
And I appreciate Mr. Kenny noting that on September 6th we will have a larger committee conversation about our Ride on Reimagine, which is part and parcel working collaboratively with the WMATA folks to think out our entire network here in Montgomery County. But what are some of the trade-offs and discussions that have taken place?
I think it's definitely looking at our equity emphasis areas, making sure that there's robust transit service to the communities that most need it. Looking at some of the routes that, if you were designing a network today, you wouldn't have a route snaking around this way, that way, taking forever to get from the beginning to the end of the route, and being okay with changing it so that it could serve most of the riders on that route more efficiently. Looking at some of the lower ridership routes and being okay with investing those resources elsewhere. I think one thing that doesn't get much attention, some of this we've increased ridership also post-COVID on the bus side by never returning some of these outlying routes that were never that good to begin with. The route that served the Crofton Park and Ride just never returned because the demand just was not there. So we have done some of that already, but this is, again, continuing that effort to find the resources and really putting them where we anticipate the most ridership return on those investments.
Yeah, without adding additional investment, finding 13,000 new riders. I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, great.
Very good. Councilmember Boffin?
Sure. Thank you. Always great to see you. Just a couple questions. So the weekend weeknight fare, have you been able? Has there been enough time to look at the numbers, and did that new fare increase numbers?
I don't think we have enough time yet. I think weather and events on the weekends in July more drive the ridership numbers than a $2.25 to $2.50 fare. But I do know that overall, I think having a much lower fare on the weekends has driven ridership. And of course, that whether it's $2.25 up to $2.50, it's still much lower than it is during the weekdays. So I think the effort there was basically recognizing that for families wanting to go downtown or do leisure activities, making sure that you're competitive with the cost of driving and parking. I think it was what drove that. And I think even with that increase, I think we're still very competitive for a family choosing to go downtown on the weekend.
That's exactly what I was thinking. For people who have a choice, I know many riders don't have a choice, but for those who have a choice, it's going to be cost, time, and hassle, yep. Right? And if you have 4 people, the cost without a $2, $2.50 fare becomes an obstacle, I think. So I think that's great. I really appreciate that as somebody who goes down a lot on the weekends. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then the Metro Lift, love it. I already tweeted it. So I think that, like with many things, it's just getting the word out and making sure that that everybody knows about that. Are you partnering with USDA on getting that out from the SNAP perspective? Is that a possibility?
We did do some outreach, and there are some levels of privacy protections on who's in it. So, but I'm not going to stop there. So I'll continue to try to reach out. I think more on the local county levels with human service agencies around the region, just to see what else can be done to get the word out, whether it's directly to the recipients or just generally to the population where they're trying to reach out to get people signed up for SNAP. Whatever it is we can do to continue spreading the word. We need to do it.
We have a lot of food distribution sites, and I think this would be something that our nonprofit partners would be very happy to help with. And then also the tie-in to our free and reduced meals through the school system, because there's an overlap, significant overlap there. I think that would be another way to get that out. So if we can help you with that, please let us know.
I will. Thank you.
Great.
Great ideas. Thank you. Vice President Stewart.
Thank you. Thank you for this update. I'll start on Metro Lift because it's one of my favorite topics. And I agree with my colleagues. As you know, we're always looking to partner on those things. And one of the things that struck me is the food distribution, but also our farmers markets, because they do, use the SNAP benefits too. And since you can get this at the Silver Spring Transit Center, it might be something to look at doing something at the Silver Spring Farmers Market. Might be very useful. And the Crossroads Market in Tacoma Park, on the border of Tacoma Park and Prince George's on Wednesday afternoon. There's a large group of our residents who use their SNAP benefits at that market as well. And so those are all just ideas, but we're really glad to see that program there. And I just want to say thank you. All the things that you highlighted, and I know it was a tough budget year, but the fact that you were able to move it forward and do, as you said, do no harm to service, because as you know, that was one of the concerns as we were going through this year, as we're trying to, and you have, bring back people to Metro, to rail and bus, that service not be hampered. And I think I just really want to commend everyone for all that hard work. And while we did talk about Virginia, I do want to say Maryland and our governor did step up big time in a multi-year commitment, and was really important in all of that, while we locally were also facing some transportation challenges. I also want to acknowledge the flexibility you talked about at WMATA these days, not only with the shutdown this summer, but over the last year and a half, 2 years, the way you have really been paying attention to when people are riding Metro and thinking about when to add extra trains, when to reduce the wait time. I think it has been usually successful for folks. As we know, we talked about this morning, people are not going to work anymore 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And for them to continue to use Metro, especially rail, they don't want a 20, 30-minute wait when they have to go downtown, even if that's on a Wednesday at noon. So when I'm going for COG meetings. So thank you. I appreciate that. It makes my life easier. And I do want to say, as you know, there is something about riding Metro, particularly when we're doing these, regional events, whether it's Pride or going to a Spirit game, or the last time I was on it, I was going to a U.S. rugby match to downtown, and riding Metro. And as you get on each stop, more and more people getting on in jerseys or celebrating, it adds to our community. And it brings people together on Metro in a way that each of us in our individual cars do not bring community. So I do think that has been really great, I think, in the last year for me personally, to see that more and more. And I think it's something that we've all been missing under COVID. And so I think it's great to see. Again, on the shutdown, glad to have the Tacoma station open again and 2 days early. Congratulations on that. And again, the flexibility. It's a tough summer for us in downtown Silver Spring, but I think you've been an excellent partner in really thinking about how to adjust and help residents there. And on DMV moves, I'm looking forward to continuing the work on that and moving it forward. I know we have we've had some conversations to start, and some tougher conversations are going to come. As the Chair Glass said, thinking about how we're actually going to put new funding mechanisms in place and get regional agreement on that. Is going to take us a lot of work. So I don't really have any questions for you, Mr. Scott, but I just want to say thank you for all of that and look forward to continuing the work.
Nope, thank you, and thank you for highlighting the leadership from Governor Moore and MDOT in leading the conversation on addressing our that large amount of additional subsidy that we needed for FY25 and into the future.
Absolutely. I've received some communication from residents about the redesign, and I'll hold that for another time. I don't need to go into that now. But I've also received some comments from residents in Montgomery County about Metro Access, and I shared a letter with you, and I can share it with colleagues who might not be aware, but in Montgomery County, about 45,000 residents utilize Metro Access based on their income and ability to get to a station and to get around. And this is a program that has operations here in the county, and I know that there have been some contractual changes at WMATA, which as of now will mean that those contract holders will not be operating in the county. And so there's concerns from both a user perspective that the service will not be the same, and then also from the employment perspective. So Mr. Scott, can you share with us the thought process here?
Certainly, yes. So thank you for highlighting Metro Access. The service actually just turned 30 about a month or two ago. So obviously ADA was passed in 1990, so it took a few years to get the service up and running, but it has been in existence for 30 years now at Metro. During the course of the 30 years, it is a contracted service, so it's not provided by Metro employees, but we do contract the service. And from time to time, we have gone through the RFP process to solicit RFPs from contractors to bid on new contracts for the service. So with FY25, we did just award the service, and actually a different, as you mentioned, a different contractor did win the bid for that service. But there are, as we go through the transition, I know that Challenger, had been doing the service previously. We have given them a 3-month extension just to help with the transition. We have procurement rules, of course, so we are allowed to continue some extensions up through the fiscal year, but not beyond. And then I think it's good to highlight the customers, because again, that's the focus.
It's about the customers.
So it's about the customers. So definitely, we vigorously monitor the performance of our contractors, no matter who they are. We did not change in the new procurement the on-time percent requirements. So we'll be continuing to hold our contractors to the service standards that we've had in the past. And I don't want to predict the future, but definitely I think, as the new contractor comes on board, they will usually do what they need to do to utilize locals, vendors or local, to make sure that the level of service is consistent and well managed and serving that community that really needs the service. So
appreciate you sharing it in the way that you did, which is why I, led by recognizing the 45,000 eligible, residents for that service. And just so I understand what you said, if there are problems in service for our residents, there will be course corrections, or you'll be working with the vendor? Just
Absolutely. I mean, that is, we hold our contractors and probably, especially probably a contractor serving such a community, we hold them to the contract. So we will hold them to the standards and to what they bid on and what they, indicated that they would provide. So we'll definitely hold them to the.
very good. I will continue sharing with you all any concerns I get, and I get them from time to time. People, who say they waited or this or that, and so appreciate the candor there. Anything else, colleagues? Mr. Kenny, anything? Okay. Mr. Scott, thank you very much. Look forward to continuing the conversation, particularly when you come back in September. I don't know if you necessarily will need to be here, but it might be something we want to consider in talking about bus redesign more generally. But thank you for your efforts and extend the entire team our appreciation.
Thank you. Will do.
And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.